billionaires on this planet. First, her vintage Mazda decided to die in rush hour traffic on Park Avenue. Then, her ex-boyfriend Tyler posted engagement photos with the girl he swore was just a friend from college. And now, standing in the lobby of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant, she just watched her heels snap clean off her favorite pumps. "Fantastic," she muttered, limping through the revolving door like a wounded flamingo. Just fantastic. The universe wasn't done with her yet. As Sloane hobbled across the marble floor, a waiter appeared out of nowhere, tray loaded with champagne flutes. She tried to dodge. He tried to stop. Physics had other plans. The collision sent champagne arcing through the air in slow motion, golden liquid catching the chandelier light as it splashed directly onto the back of a man's suit jacket. Time stopped. The man turned around slowly, and Sloane's stomach dropped to her broken shoes. She knew that face. Everyone in New York knew that face. It had been on the cover of Forbes 3 times this year alone. Garrett Ashford, billionaire real estate mogul, owner of half the skyscrapers in Manhattan, and according to page 6, a complete and utter nightmare who'd once sued a journalist for calling his building design derivative. His ice blue eyes locked onto Sloane with the warmth of a glacier in Antarctica. Sloane's voice came out as a squeak. "I am so sorry. I tripped, and the waiter. Do you know who this woman is?" A sharp voice cut through the restaurant's buzz. Sloane turned and felt her soul leave her body. Sitting at a massive table near the windows was her entire family, her mother looking mortified, her father, half standing, her sister Felicity with that judgy face she'd perfected in high school, Aunt Moira, Uncle Dennis, the cousin she hadn't seen since Thanksgiving, and worst of all, Grandma Iris, who'd spent the last 5 family dinners asking why Sloane wasn't married yet. Sloane Patricia Winters. Her mother stood up, her face matching her burgundy dress. "What have you done?" Every head in the restaurant swiveled toward them. Sloane saw phones coming out, camera apps opening. This was going to be all over social media in minutes. "Mom, I was coming to lunch, and I just... Miss, I'm going to have to ask you to..." A security guard appeared at her elbow. "Wait." Garrett Ashford's voice cut through the chaos like a knife through butter. Garrett Ashford's voice cut through the chaos like a knife through butter. His hand landed on Sloane's shoulder, gentle but firm. "It's fine. Accidents happen." Sloane blinked up at him. Was this a trick? Where was the lawsuit? The public humiliation? The security detail dragging her out by her broken heels? "Sloane, who is that man?" Aunt Moira was practically vibrating with curiosity, her eyes darting between Sloane and the billionaire. That's when Sloane's brain short-circuited. Maybe it was the panic. Maybe it was years of family pressure. Maybe it was the way Garrett Ashford was standing there being unexpectedly decent, and she needed desperately, viscerally needed her family to stop treating her like a romantic failure. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "He's my husband." The silence that crashed over the restaurant was deafening. Garrett Ashford froze beside her. Sloane felt him turn to stone. "Shoot, shoot, shoot, shoot. What did I just say? You're what?" The shout came from approximately 15 family members simultaneously. "You're married?" Her mother pressed a hand to her chest, looking faint. Sloane was having a full-blown panic attack in designer restaurant lighting. She'd just announced her marriage to the most powerful man in New York in front of 200 witnesses, with phones recording everything. But Garrett Ashford did something completely insane. He smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a great white shark who'd just spotted something interesting in the water. Surprise! Everyone. He slipped his arm around Sloane's waist, pulling her against him with practiced ease. "We wanted to tell you in person, but the cat's out of the bag now, right, sweetheart?" The way he said sweetheart made Sloane feel like she'd just signed a contract with the devil in blood. Her family exploded. "When did this happen? Why didn't you tell us?" Sloane Winters married to Garrett Ashford. "Moira, are you seeing this?" Aunt Moira looked like she might faint. Garrett Ashford. The Garrett Ashford. "Actually," Garrett said smoothly, his grip on Sloane's waist tightening in warning. "She's Sloane Ashford now." He was making it worse. Sloane stared at him in pure horror. Garrett stared back with those ice blue eyes that clearly said, "You started this. Now deal with it. Come. Come." Her mother was waving frantically. Sit with us. We have so much to catch up on. We really should go, Sloane tried. We'd be delighted. Garrett cut her off, flashing that shark smile again. Before Sloane could protest, she was being steered toward the table, Garrett attached to her side like an expensive, dangerous shadow. Uncle Dennis raised his wine glass. A toast to the newlyweds. We're not exactly newlyweds. We've been, Sloane attempted to clarify. To Sloane and Garrett. The entire table erupted. Garrett grabbed a champagne flute and toasted with terrifying naturalness. Sloane realized with growing horror that he was enjoying this. So, Aunt Moira leaned forward, hungry for details. How did you two meet? Sloane opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. It was love at first sight, Garrett answered smoothly, running his finger along Sloane's hand in a gesture that looked intimate but felt like a threat. She literally ran into me. The table collectively sighed. He was enjoying this. The jerk was enjoying this. And the wedding? When was it? Why so secret? Her sister, Felicity, narrowed her eyes suspiciously. 3 months ago, Garrett lied effortlessly. Small ceremony, just us and the officiant. Sloane wanted something intimate. That's so romantic. Cousin Peyton was practically in tears. Grandma Iris, however, wasn't buying it. Sloane, you never mentioned dating anyone. How'd you go from single to married so fast? Sloane felt sweat trickling down her spine. Well, it was very, when you know, Garrett interlaced his fingers with hers on the table. His fingers were cold as ice, but his smile could melt steel. I knew from the first second I saw her. Lies. Beautiful, convincing, dangerous lies. Garrett's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression shifted into something even more predatory. Excuse me, family. He stood gracefully. I need to take this call. I'll be right back. He kissed the top of Sloane's head, a gesture that looked affectionate but felt like ownership. The second he walked away, the table exploded. Sloane. Garrett Ashford. How did you land him? Why didn't you tell us? Sloane was officially spiraling. Her life was imploding in real time, and it was all because of a broken heel and a moment of panic. She glanced over and saw Garrett on his phone across the room. He was laughing. No, worse. He was taking notes. He was planning something. When Garrett returned, he had an expression that Sloane could only describe as predatory satisfaction. Sloane. He placed his hand on her shoulder, squeezing slightly. We need to talk privately. That didn't sound good. Not good at all. Already? But you just got here, Aunt Moira protested. Business emergency. Garrett flashed his corporate smile. I'm sure you understand. He practically dragged Sloane toward the back hallway of the restaurant. The second they were alone, the smile vanished. What was that? His voice was low, controlled, and absolutely terrifying. Sloane backed against the wall. I panicked. My family was there. Everyone was staring. And you declared me your husband in front of 200 people with cameras recording. He ran his hand through his dark hair, clearly fighting not to yell. Do you have any idea what you just did? It was an accident. Accident doesn't work when you verbally marry someone. I'll tell them the truth. Sloane was already reaching for her phone. I'll say it was a mistake, that I freaked out. That. Garrett snatched the phone from her hand. Too late. He turned the phone toward her. The hashtag Garrett Ashford married was trending on Twitter. Photos of them in the restaurant. Videos. Analysis. Conspiracy theories. Sloane felt the floor disappear beneath her feet. My publicist just called. Garrett continued, his voice dangerously calm. The story's already hit Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal. My board is freaking out. My mother is on a plane from the Hamptons. Congratulations, Sloane Winters. You just caused the biggest PR crisis Ashford Enterprises has faced in a decade. I'll tell the truth. Sloane was near tears. I'll tweet. I'll post a video. And destroy both of us in the process. Garrett crossed his arms. I look like an idiot who got catfished publicly. You look like a psycho who invented a marriage with a stranger. Your family is humiliated. My company loses credibility. Everyone loses. Then what do we do? Sloane wanted to scream. Garrett went silent for a long moment. Sloane could practically see his brain working, calculating, strategizing. Finally, he spoke. "We get married." Sloane blinked. "What? For real?" He looked her dead in the eye, and Sloane saw he was serious. "Temporarily, until the dust settles and we can divorce quietly." "You're insane." "Think of it as damage control." Garrett started pacing, clearly formulating a plan. "We confirm the story. Get married for real at City Hall tomorrow. Live together for a few months. Then amicable separation. No scandals, no lawsuits, no reputation destruction." Sloane stared at him like he'd sprouted a second head. "You want me to marry you because of a lie? You put me in this situation." He turned to face her, eyes cold. "Now you're going to help me get out of it my way. I'm not marrying a stranger. The alternative is publicly admitting you made it all up, destroying both our reputations, traumatizing your family, and probably costing me a 15% stock drop by Friday." He ticked them off on his fingers, methodical. "Your choice." Sloane wanted to say no, wanted to run screaming from this nightmare. But when she thought about her mother finding out the truth, about Grandma Iris's disappointment, about the headlines. "How long?" she asked, voice small. 6 months. Long enough to look real, short enough to justify separation, and then clean divorce. Irreconcilable differences. We go our separate ways. He extended his hand. "Do we have a deal?" Sloane looked at his hand. It was a nice hand, expensive, probably signed contracts worth millions. And now it was being offered to pull her out of the biggest hole she'd ever dug. She took a deep breath and shook it. 6 months. 6 months, Garrett confirmed, shaking firmly. "And Sloane?" He leaned closer, voice low and dangerous. He leaned closer, voice low and dangerous. "Don't make me regret this more than I already do." Before she could respond, he was walking back to the dining room, corporate smile back in place. Sloane stood alone in the hallway processing what had just happened. She'd woken up today as Sloane Winters, single administrative assistant. In 24 hours, she'd be Sloane Ashford, wife to the most feared man in New York by accident. What have I just done? Sloane didn't sleep that night. How could she? In approximately 12 hours, she'd be walking into City Hall to marry a man she'd met exactly once, when she'd bathed him in champagne and accidentally declared him her husband. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since she got home. Text after text from her family, friends she hadn't spoken to in years, even her dentist's receptionist asking if the rumors were true. The only person who hadn't texted was Garrett Ashford. Instead, at precisely 6:47 a.m., her doorbell rang. Sloane stumbled to the door in her pajamas, oversized NYU t-shirt and shorts with coffee stains, and peered through the peephole. A man in an immaculate suit stood there holding a briefcase and looking like he'd never been tired a day in his life. She opened the door a crack. "Can I help you, Miss Winters?" He smiled professionally. "I'm James Chen, Mr. Ashford's attorney. May I come in? It's 7 in the morning. Mr. Ashford is an early riser. He assumed you would be as well." Sloane glanced down at her coffee-stained shorts. He assumed wrong. James Chen's smile didn't waver. "Nevertheless, we have documents that require your signature before the ceremony at 11. Documents, plural. The prenuptial agreement, among other things." Of course there was a prenup. Sloane stepped aside to let him in, suddenly very aware that her studio apartment could probably fit inside Garrett Ashford's walk-in closet. James Chen didn't seem to notice, or at least he was too professional to show it. He set his briefcase on her coffee table, which was actually just an IKEA side table she'd found on the street, and pulled out a stack of papers that looked thicker than her college thesis. "This," he said, placing the stack in front of her with a satisfying thump, "is your prenuptial agreement." Sloane stared at it. "That's not an agreement. That's a novel. Mr. Ashford is very thorough, apparently." Sloane flipped open the first page and immediately regretted it. The legal jargon made her eyes cross. "Can you give me the highlights in English?" James Chen pulled out a separate sheet. Apparently, Garrett had anticipated this too. The key points. "You will live in Mr. Ashford's penthouse for the duration of the marriage. You will attend social functions as required. You will maintain the appearance of a loving marriage in public. In exchange, you will receive a monthly allowance of $50,000. $50,000? Sloane nearly choked. And upon divorce, a settlement of $2 million, provided you adhere to all terms of the agreement. Sloane's brain short-circuited somewhere around $2 million. That was more money than she'd make in her entire lifetime as an administrative assistant. What's the catch? She asked suspiciously. James Chen flipped to another page. Mr. Ashford has outlined 73 rules for the duration of your marriage. 73? He's very thorough, James repeated, as if that explained everything. Sloane grabbed the rules list. Her eyes scanned down the page, growing wider with each line. Rule number 1. No unnecessary physical contact. Rule number 2. Separate bedrooms at all times. Rule number 3. No personal guests without prior approval. Rule number 4. Breakfast at 6:30 a.m. sharp. Rule number 5. No reality TV in common areas. Is he serious? Sloane looked up. He's micromanaging breakfast time. Mr. Ashford values structure. Mr. Ashford sounds like a robot. James Chen's professional mask cracked slightly. Was that a hint of a smile? You're not the first person to say that. Sloane kept reading. Rule number 23. No discussing the marriage arrangement with anyone outside approved parties. Rule number 31. All social media posts must be approved in advance. Rule number 47. No rearranging furniture. Rule number 52. No singing in the shower. No singing in the shower? Sloane threw the paper down. What kind of monster bans shower singing? Mr. Ashford is a light sleeper. Then maybe Mr. Ashford should invest in earplugs instead of trying to control every aspect of my life. James Chen calmly retrieved the paper. If you're having second thoughts. Sloane took a deep breath. She thought about the hashtags trending on Twitter, about her mother's excited voice on the phone last night, about having to admit this was all a massive lie. $2 million and 6 months of shower silence. She could do this. Where do I sign? 3 hours later, Sloane stood in front of City Hall wearing the only dress she owned that could be considered wedding appropriate. A simple cream-colored sheath dress she'd bought for her cousin's rehearsal dinner 2 years ago. Garrett Ashford stood beside her in a suit that probably cost more than her rent for the year, looking completely calm, like getting married to a stranger on a Wednesday morning was perfectly normal. You're late, he said without looking at her. I'm 2 minutes late. 2 minutes is late. Sloane bit her tongue. Rule number 1 of surviving the next 6 months. Don't murder your fake husband before the ink dries on the marriage certificate. Shall we? Garrett gestured toward the entrance. Inside, the ceremony was remarkably sterile. A clerk who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else rattled through the standard vows in a monotone that suggested she'd done this 17 times already today. Do you, Garrett Ashford, take Sloane Winters to be your lawfully wedded wife? No hesitation, no emotion, just 2 words delivered like a quarterly earnings report. No hesitation, no emotion, just 2 words delivered like a quarterly earnings report. Do you, Sloane Winters, take Garrett Ashford to be your lawfully wedded husband? Sloane looked at Garrett. He was staring straight ahead, jaw set, completely unreadable. This was insane. This was the most insane thing she'd ever done. By the power vested in me by the state of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife. By the power vested in me by the state of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Sloane and Garrett both froze. They hadn't discussed this part. The clerk looked at them expectantly. Behind them, James Chen cleared his throat. Garrett turned to Sloane, and for the first time that morning, she saw something flicker in his ice-blue eyes. Panic. Resignation? She couldn't tell. We don't have to, Sloane started. Garrett leaned in and kissed her. It was quick, perfunctory, the kind of kiss you'd give your grandmother at Thanksgiving. But Sloane's traitorous body didn't get the memo. The second his lips touched hers, every nerve ending lit up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Her heart slammed against her ribs, her skin flushed hot, and then it was over. Garrett pulled back, his expression carefully neutral. Shall we? Sloane nodded, not trusting her voice. They signed the papers. The clerk stamped everything with the enthusiasm of someone stamping parking tickets. And just like that, Sloane Winters became Sloane Ashford. In the car, because of course, Garrett had a driver, they sat in silence. Sloane stared out the window, watching the city blur past. We're going to my penthouse, Garrett said finally. Your belongings will be moved this afternoon. Wait, what? I didn't agree to move today. It's in the contract. Page 47. Nobody reads page 47. I did. Garrett was texting on his phone, not even looking at her. Your landlord has already been notified. The movers will be there at 2. Sloane wanted to argue, but she was too exhausted. And honestly, her studio apartment, with its leaky faucet and neighbors who thought 3 a.m. was an appropriate time for drum practice, wasn't exactly worth fighting for. Fine, she muttered, but I'm picking my own bedroom. You'll have the guest suite. 3rd door on the left. Of course, you've already decided. Garrett finally looked at her. I've had to make a lot of decisions in the last 24 hours, Sloane. If you'd like to take over the planning, be my guest. There was an edge to his voice that Sloane hadn't heard before. She studied him closer. He looked tired. There were faint shadows under his eyes that his lawyer probably didn't have a contractual solution for. Rough night? She asked, softer. Garrett's jaw tightened. My mother called 17 times. Yikes. She's not pleased with the situation. The situation being me. The situation being that I got married without telling her. Garrett rubbed his temple. She's flying in from the Hamptons. You'll meet her tonight at dinner. Tonight? She insisted. Garrett, I just got married. I haven't even processed the first family meeting, and now I have to do another one. Welcome to being in Ashford. His tone was dry. We don't believe in processing time. The car pulled up to a gleaming high-rise in Tribeca. Sloane craned her neck to see the top. She couldn't. You live here? Top floor. Of course he did. The elevator ride to the penthouse was awkward silence, set to terrible music. When the doors opened directly into Garrett's apartment, because of course he had a private elevator, Sloane's jaw dropped. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson, a living room bigger than her entire apartment. Furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything was pristine, modern, and completely devoid of personality. It's very white, Sloane said diplomatically. I like clean lines. It looks like a hospital, a really expensive hospital. Garrett's lips twitched. Was that almost a smile? Your room is this way. He led her down a hallway lined with abstract art that Sloane suspected was worth more than her student loans. He opened a door to reveal a bedroom that was somehow even more intimidating than the rest of the apartment. King-sized bed. Ensuite bathroom with a tub that could fit 4 people. A walk-in closet that was currently empty but clearly waiting to be filled with clothes she couldn't afford. This is... wow. Sloane walked to the window. The view was insane. I can see the Statue of Liberty. Garrett stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets. Garrett stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets. I'll let you settle in. Dinner is at 7. Dress code is formal. Wait, what am I supposed to wear? My closet is 3 Target dresses and a blazer I bought at a thrift store. I've arranged for a stylist. She'll be here at 4. You arranged a... When did you arrange a stylist? This morning, while you were signing the prenup. Sloane turned to face him. Do you ever stop planning things? He said it simply, like it was the most obvious answer in the world. He said it simply, like it was the most obvious answer in the world. Planning prevents chaos. Newsflash, Garrett. You married a stranger yesterday because she lied to her entire family in a panic. I think the chaos already happened. For a moment, something flickered in his expression. Then it was gone, replaced by that careful neutral mask. I'll send the stylist in when she arrives. He turned to leave. Garrett. He paused. Thank you for going along with this. I know I completely messed up your life. Garrett was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than she'd heard it. You didn't completely mess it up, just significantly complicated it. And then he was gone, closing the door behind him with a soft click. Sloane sat on the edge of the massive bed and looked around her new room, her new life. She was married to a billionaire who had 73 rules and scheduled his breakfast down to the minute. She was about to meet his mother. She had a stylist coming and a dinner she wasn't prepared for. And 6 months of pretending to be in love with a man who kissed like he was signing a business contract. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister Felicity. Mom won't stop crying. Happy tears. She's planning a reception. Hope you're ready. Sloane flopped backward on the bed and stared at the ceiling. What had she gotten herself into? At exactly 4 p.m., there was a knock on her door. "Come in," Sloane called, expecting the stylist. Instead, Garrett opened the door. He'd changed into jeans and a sweater. Apparently, even billionaires had casual clothes, and he looked different, younger, almost normal. "Change of plans," he said. "What now?" "My mother moved dinner up to 6, which means we have 2 hours to get our story straight." "Our story." Garrett walked into the room and sat in the armchair by the window. "How we met, how I proposed, why we kept it secret. We need details, Sloane. My mother is like a detective with a PhD in calling out lies." Sloane sat up. "So, how did we meet?" "Coffee shop," Garrett said immediately. 3 months ago. You were reading a book. I asked what you were reading. We started talking. What book? Does it matter? Your mother might ask. Garrett thought for a moment. Pride and Prejudice. Really? That's your choice? It's a classic, and it works with the narrative. What narrative? Garrett leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I'm Mr. Darcy. You're Elizabeth Bennet. We started off wrong but fell in love despite our differences. Sloane stared at him. You've actually thought about this. I think about everything. That must be exhausting. It is. He said it so matter-of-factly that Sloane felt a pang of sympathy. She said, coffee shop, Pride and Prejudice. What happened next? For the next hour, they built their fake love story. Their second date at a small Italian restaurant in the West Village. Their first kiss in Central Park during the first snow of winter. The night Garrett proposed on the Brooklyn Bridge at sunset because of course he did. By the time they finished, Sloane's head was spinning with details. This is a lot to remember, she said. You'll be fine, Garrett stood. Just follow my lead. And Sloane, my mother is going to try to intimidate you. My mother is going to try to intimidate you. Don't let her. Great. Super helpful. Thanks. Garrett almost smiled again. The stylist should be here any minute. I'll see you at 6. He left, and moments later there was another knock. This time it was the stylist, a whirlwind of a woman named Zara, who took one look at Sloane and declared, "We have work to do." 2 hours later, Sloane stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized herself. The dress Zara had chosen was elegant without being flashy, a deep navy sheath that hugged her curves and fell just below her knees. Her hair was swept into a soft updo. Her makeup was natural but polished. She looked like she belonged in Garrett's world. She hated how much she liked it. At exactly 6, Sloane walked into the living room. Garrett was standing by the window, already in a suit. When he turned and saw her, he went completely still. Well, Sloane did an awkward twirl. Will I pass inspection? Garrett didn't answer right away. His eyes traveled over her, slow and deliberate, and Sloane felt heat creep up her neck. You look, he cleared his throat. Acceptable. Acceptable. Every girl's dream compliment. Every girl's dream compliment. I meant, he stopped himself. You look nice. Better. The doorbell rang. The penthouse had a doorbell because of course it did, and Garrett's entire posture changed. His shoulders went rigid. His jaw set. He was nervous. Garrett Ashford, billionaire real estate mogul, was nervous about his mother. Sloane found that oddly endearing. Ready? He asked. Not even a little bit. Perfect. Let's go. Garrett opened the door, and Sloane came face to face with Vivian Ashford. Garrett. Vivian air-kissed both his cheeks. My son, the surprise groom. Mother. Garrett's voice was carefully neutral. This is Sloane. Vivian turned those sharp eyes on Sloane, and Sloane felt like a bug under a microscope. So, Vivian said, her smile not reaching her eyes, you're the girl who trapped my son into marriage. And just like that, Sloane knew dinner was going to be a disaster. The silence that followed Vivian Ashford's accusation was so thick you could cut it with a knife, or in this case, with one of the ridiculously expensive steak knives sitting on Garrett's dining table. Mother. Garrett's voice was ice cold. That's not what happened, isn't it? Vivian glided into the penthouse like she owned it, which Sloane realized with growing horror she might have helped pay for. You meet a girl and 3 months later you're married in secret. That doesn't strike you as suspicious? Both Ashfords turned to look at her. Sloane's heart was hammering, but she forced herself to stand tall. She dealt with difficult people before, granted. They were usually angry customers calling about late deliveries, not billionaire matriarchs who looked like they ate people for breakfast, but the principle was the same. Stay calm. Don't show fear. Mrs. Ashford. Sloane continued. I understand this is a shock, but I love your son and he loves me. That's what matters. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue, especially after that weird moment when Garrett had looked at her in the navy dress, like she'd stolen his ability to form coherent sentences. Vivian's perfectly painted lips curved into something that might have been a smile on anyone else. On her, it looked predatory. Love, she said, testing the word like it was sour. How quaint. Mother, that's enough. Garrett moved to stand beside Sloane, and she felt his hand land on the small of her back. It was possessive, protective, and definitely not in the 73 rules. Rule number 1. No unnecessary physical contact. Dinner is ready, Garrett said firmly. Shall we? Shall we? Dinner was catered by some restaurant whose name Sloane couldn't pronounce. Vivian sat across from them, dissecting them with her eyes while delicately cutting her salmon into precise, identical pieces. So, Sloane? Vivian took a sip of wine. So, Sloane? Vivian took a sip of wine. I'm an administrative assistant. How modest. The way Vivian said it made it sound like Sloane had said she was a professional dumpster diver. The way Vivian said it made it sound like Sloane had said she was a professional dumpster diver. Henderson and Associates. It's a marketing firm in Midtown. I'm not familiar with it. It's not a billion-dollar enterprise, if that's what you're asking, Sloane said sweetly. Garrett nearly choked on his water. Vivian's smile sharpened. I see you have spirit. That's good. You'll need it to survive in this family. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Vivian set down her fork with surgical precision. Vivian set down her fork with surgical precision. Tell me, Sloane, have you ever attended a fundraiser where the ticket price was $50,000 per plate? No, but I once went to a potluck where someone brought store-bought cookies and pretended they were homemade. No, but I once went to a potluck where someone brought store-bought cookies and pretended they were homemade. Garrett made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. Vivian did not look amused. This isn't a joke, dear. This isn't a joke, dear. It means knowing which fork to use at state dinners. It means being able to discuss art, politics, and philanthropy with people who can destroy your reputation with one phone call. Mother. Garrett's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Sloane doesn't need to be lectured. I'm simply ensuring she understands what she's gotten herself into. I'm simply ensuring she understands what she's gotten herself into. Not to you. Not to your expectations. To me. Sloane looked at Garrett in surprise. There was an edge to his voice she hadn't heard before, something almost protective. Vivian studied her son like he was a particularly interesting specimen. You've changed. You've changed. Not you. You're always so controlled, so measured, and yet you married this girl in secret without telling your own mother. Vivian turned her sharp gaze back to Sloane. What's your secret, dear? What spell did you cast on my son? What's your secret, dear? What spell did you cast on my son? I spilled champagne on him and lied to my entire family, Sloane said flatly. It was very romantic. Then Garrett started laughing, not a polite chuckle, a real, genuine laugh that seemed to surprise him as much as it surprised Sloane and Vivian. I'm sorry, Garrett said, trying to compose himself. I'm sorry, Garrett said, trying to compose himself. Vivian looked between them like they'd both lost their minds. You're telling me you met when she spilled champagne on you? At the restaurant yesterday, Garrett confirmed, still smiling, in front of 200 people and her entire family. And you decided to marry her because when you know, Garrett said, using the exact line they'd rehearsed. But the way he was looking at Sloane now, there was something different in his eyes, something that made her stomach flip. Vivian set down her wine glass with a sharp clink. I see. Do you? Garrett challenged. I see that you're both lying to me. I see that you're both lying to me. I see that this entire story is absurd. I see that this entire story is absurd, Vivian continued. I see a girl who works in a marketing firm in Midtown suddenly living in a multi-million-dollar penthouse. I see a girl who works in a marketing firm in Midtown, suddenly living in a multi-million-dollar penthouse. What I don't see is the truth. Garrett stood as well, his jaw set. Garrett stood as well, his jaw set. I'm not finished. Vivian's voice was sharp. I don't know what game you two are playing, but I promise you I will find out. And when I do, when you do, Garrett interrupted, his voice deadly calm, you'll discover that I married someone who makes me laugh. Someone who doesn't care about the Ashford name, or the Ashford money, or the Ashford expectations. Someone who doesn't care about the Ashford name, or the Ashford money, or the Ashford expectations. And you'll discover that I don't care what you think about it. And you'll discover that I don't care what you think about it. Sloane stared at Garrett, her fake husband, who was defending her against his own mother with a conviction that sounded almost real. Vivian's expression was unreadable. I'll be watching. I'll be watching. Both of you. She swept out of the penthouse like a hurricane in designer heels, leaving destruction in her wake. The door clicked shut. Sloane and Garrett stood in silence for a long moment. Sloane and Garrett stood in silence for a long moment. That went great. Garrett's shoulders started shaking. Garrett's shoulders started shaking. I'm sorry, he gasped. I shouldn't be laughing. I shouldn't be laughing. That was a disaster. That was a catastrophe with a side of apocalypse. She's always been intense, but that was Garrett ran his hand through his hair, messing it up. He looked more human than Sloane had ever seen him. He looked more human than Sloane had ever seen him. Hey, I signed up for this. Hey, I signed up for this. Fake marriage includes fake mother-in-law from the underworld, right? Garrett smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. It's in the contract. Page 68, right next to the no singing in the shower clause. Page 68, right next to the no singing in the shower clause. They both started laughing, and suddenly the tension from dinner evaporated. They were just two people who'd gotten themselves into the most ridiculous situation imaginable, trying to survive it together. Thank you, Sloane said when the laughter faded, for defending me. Thank you, Sloane said when the laughter faded, for defending me. Yes, I did. Garrett's expression turned serious. Garrett's expression turned serious. And regardless of how this marriage started, I won't let anyone treat you like that, not even her. And regardless of how this marriage started, I won't let anyone treat you like that, not even her. Something dangerous. Rule number 1, she said quietly. Rule number 1, she said quietly. Garrett looked down and seemed to realize he was still holding her hand. Garrett looked down and seemed to realize he was still holding her hand. Right. Right. Sorry. Sloane surprised herself by saying it. Sloane surprised herself by saying it. She's not usually that bad. Garrett. She literally accused me of trapping you. Garrett. She literally accused me of trapping you. Fair point. He loosened his tie, and Sloane tried not to notice how good he looked, slightly disheveled. Want to break another rule? Want to break another rule? Which one? Rule number 5. Rule number 5. You want to watch reality TV? I want to forget the last 2 hours happened, and I've heard reality TV is excellent for that. Sloane grinned. It's the best for that. It's the best for that. 20 minutes later, they were sitting on opposite ends of Garrett's pristine white couch, maintaining a safe distance because some rules were still in effect, watching a show where people competed to marry strangers. These people are actually choosing to marry people they've never met. At least they're doing it on purpose, Sloane pointed out. Unlike some people I know, Garrett laughed. Wait until you get to the reunion episodes. Wait until you get to the reunion episodes. There are reunion episodes? Oh, you sweet summer child. There are always reunion episodes. They fell into comfortable silence, watching strangers navigate the exact situation they were in except on TV. At least some of the couples seemed to actually like each other. Sloane snuck a glance at Garrett. He was completely absorbed in the show, occasionally making comments like, "That's a terrible financial decision," and, "Did they not discuss living arrangements beforehand?" He was kind of adorable when he wasn't being an uptight billionaire with 73 rules. "Sloane," Garrett said without looking away from the screen. "Sloane," Garrett said without looking away from the screen. "For what it's worth, I'm glad it was you. For what it's worth, I'm glad it was you." "What do you mean?" "When you spilled champagne on me and lied to your family, I could have been anyone, but you chose to declare me as your husband." He finally looked at her, and there was something soft in his expression. He finally looked at her, and there was something soft in his expression. Sloane felt her cheeks warm. If I had to have an accidental husband, I'm glad it's someone who breaks his own rules and defends me against intimidating mothers. They smiled at each other, and for just a moment, the fake marriage felt a little less fake. Sloane's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. She grabbed it and groaned. "What's wrong?" Garrett asked. "What's wrong?" Garrett asked. "She wants to throw us an engagement party next weekend. We're already married. Try explaining that to Patricia Winters. Try explaining that to Patricia Winters." Sloane showed him the text, which included approximately 17 exclamation points and 5 heart emojis. Garrett studied the message. "Next Saturday? At my parents' house in Connecticut. Apparently Aunt Moira already started planning, and there's no stopping it." Sloane sighed. "We don't have to go. I can make up an excuse. I can make up an excuse." Garrett's expression was determined. "We're married now. We're married now. Garrett, you met my family. They're chaos incarnate. They're chaos incarnate. My sister will grill you about your intentions. My grandmother will ask when we're having babies. I can handle it. This isn't a business meeting. This is my family. They're loud and nosy, and they'll probably serve questionable casseroles." "Sloane." Garrett turned to face her fully. "I defended you against my mother tonight. I think I can survive casseroles and questions about babies." Sloane bit her lip. "You're really sure about this?" "I'm sure." He pulled out his phone. "I'll have my assistant clear my schedule. You're going to schedule my family's chaotic engagement party? I schedule everything. Remember? It's how I prevent chaos. Newsflash. My family is chaos. No amount of scheduling can prevent it." Garrett smiled, that almost smile she was starting to recognize. "Then I guess I'll have to learn to adapt. Who are you, and what have you done with the man who has 73 rules?" "He's making an exception." Garrett stood and offered his hand to help her up for his wife. The word wife sent a little thrill through Sloane that she absolutely did not want to examine too closely. She took his hand, letting him pull her to her feet. They stood there for a moment, closer than necessary, hands still clasped. "Rule number 1, Garrett said quietly. "Exceptions for family events," Sloane suggested. "Exceptions for family events," he agreed. But neither of them let go. Sloane's phone buzzed again, breaking the spell. She pulled away and checked the message. "My mom wants to know what your favorite foods are for the party. Tell her I'll eat anything except, let me guess, anything that isn't precisely prepared to your specifications?" Garrett had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "I'm not that bad." "Garrett, you have a rule about breakfast being at 6:30 a.m. sharp. Structure is important. Structure is your security blanket." "Maybe." He headed toward the hallway. "I should let you get some rest. We have a busy week ahead." "More rules to break," Sloane teased. Garrett paused at his bedroom door and looked back at her. More exceptions to make. And then he was gone, leaving Sloane standing in the living room with a racing heart and a growing realization that this fake marriage was getting dangerously close to feeling real. She grabbed her phone and texted her best friend, Kira. "Help! I think I'm starting to like my fake husband." The response came immediately. "Girl." Sloane looked down the hallway where Garrett had disappeared. 2 days, and her carefully controlled life had exploded into champagne-soaked chaos. 73 rules, reality TV, and a man who defended her against his terrifying mother. 2 days, and she was already in trouble. She went to her bedroom, the guest suite with the Statue of Liberty view, and got ready for bed. As she climbed under the ridiculously expensive sheets, she heard it, singing, faint, coming from somewhere in the penthouse. Garrett was singing in the shower. Sloane smiled into her pillow. Apparently, some rules were made to be broken even by the man who wrote them. The drive to Connecticut was supposed to take 2 hours. It took 3 because Garrett insisted on stopping at a bakery in Greenwich to pick up appropriate desserts after Sloane mentioned her Aunt Moira's legendary but questionable Jell-O mold. "You don't understand," Sloane said as Garrett emerged from the bakery with 3 boxes of French pastries. "My family will think you're showing off. I'm preventing food poisoning." Garrett carefully placed the boxes in the back seat like they contained nuclear codes. "There's a difference. My family has survived Aunt Moira's Jell-O mold for 30 years. Then they're incredibly lucky or have stomachs of steel. Sloane couldn't help but smile. Over the past week, she discovered that Garrett had opinions about everything from the correct way to load a dishwasher. Apparently there was a system to the best route through Manhattan. He'd gotten into a genuine argument with his GPS. She'd also discovered he was funny when he wasn't trying to be, thoughtful in weird ways. He'd remembered she didn't like coffee and had stocked the penthouse with 6 different types of tea, and that he hummed while he worked in his home office. It was becoming a problem. The problem being that she was starting to actually like him. "You're nervous," Garrett observed as they turned onto her parents' street. "I'm not nervous. Your leg is bouncing. You've been checking your phone every 3 minutes, and you've reorganized your purse twice." Sloane stopped bouncing her leg. "I'm nervous. My family is about to descend on you like a swarm of very loud, very nosy locusts. I can handle locusts. These are Connecticut locusts. They're different." Garrett pulled into the driveway of a modest 2-story colonial that was absolutely covered in balloons, streamers, and a banner that read, "Congratulations, Sloane and Garrett," in letters large enough to be seen from space. "Oh no," Sloane whispered. "Oh no, what?" My mom went full Pinterest. The front door burst open before they could even get out of the car. Sloane's mother came running out, followed by what appeared to be the entire extended Winters family. "They're here!" Patricia Winters shrieked with the enthusiasm of someone announcing the second coming. Garrett looked at Sloane. Too late to run? Way too late. The next 10 minutes were a blur of hugs, introductions, and Garrett being passed around like a particularly expensive show-and-tell item. "So, you're the billionaire?" Uncle Dennis clapped Garrett on the back hard enough to make him stumble. "Good for you, Sloane. Marrying up." "Dennis." Aunt Moira swatted his arm. "You can't just say that." "Why not? It's true. The girl's living in a penthouse now." Sloane's father, Robert, pushed through the crowd with the intensity of a man on a mission. "Garrett, we need to talk. Do you know about the pigeons?" "Dad, no." Sloane tried to intervene. "They're government surveillance drones, you see. I've been tracking their flight patterns for 6 months. Dad, please." "It's fine," Garrett said, and he actually sounded interested. "I'd like to hear about this. I've always wondered why pigeons in Manhattan seem so organized." Robert's face lit up like Christmas morning. Finally, someone who gets it. As her father dragged Garrett toward the backyard to discuss avian conspiracy theories, Sloane felt a hand on her shoulder. "Well, well, well." Her sister Felicity appeared with a knowing smile. "Look at you, married to Mr. Perfect. He's not perfect. He's rich, gorgeous, and he's about to spend 20 minutes listening to Dad's pigeon theories without running away screaming. That's pretty close to perfect." Sloane watched through the window as Garrett nodded seriously, while her father gesticulated wildly, probably explaining his elaborate theory about migratory patterns and GPS tracking. "It's fake," Sloane said quietly. "What?" "The marriage. It's fake." The words tumbled out before Sloane could stop them. She'd been holding this secret for a week, and it was killing her. "I lied at the restaurant. He's going along with it to avoid a scandal. We have a contract. 6 months, then divorce." Felicity stared at her. "You're joking." "I wish I was." "Sloane, Patricia Winters." "I know." "Okay, I know it's insane, but I panicked and he agreed. And now we're stuck in this." Sloane stopped. "You can't tell anyone. Please. If Mom finds out, she'll have a breakdown." Felicity grabbed Sloane's arm. "Does he treat you well? Is he safe? Do I need to murder him?" "What?" "No, he's actually really nice. He defended me against his terrifying mother. He watches reality TV with me. He bought fancy pastries because he was worried about food poisoning from Aunt Moira's Jell-O." Felicity's expression softened. "You like him?" "No, I don't." "Sloane, you just listed 3 things about him with hearts in your eyes." "I did not have hearts in my eyes." "You totally did." Felicity smiled. "Maybe this fake marriage isn't as fake as you think." Before Sloane could respond, Grandma Iris appeared with the stealth of a ninja despite being 76 and wearing heels. "Sloane, there you are." She pulled Sloane into a hug that smelled like lavender and subtle judgment. "We need to discuss the babies." "Grandma, we've been married for a week." "Exactly. You're not getting any younger, dear. My friend Muriel's granddaughter is already on baby number 2, and she's younger than you. I'm 28. Tick-tock. Grandma Iris made an actual ticking sound with her tongue. That handsome husband of yours has good genes, tall, strong jawline, excellent hair. You should start trying immediately. Grandma, I'm just saying I'd like to meet my great-grandchildren before I die. You're in perfect health. Still. Tick-tock. Sloane was rescued by her mother announcing that lunch was ready. The family migrated toward the backyard, where tables were set up with enough food to feed a small army. And there, in all its jiggly glory, sat Aunt Moira's legendary Jell-O mold. It was bright green, had mysterious chunks floating in it, and appeared to be wiggling independently. Garrett materialized at Sloane's elbow. Is that the Jell-O? That's the Jell-O. It's moving. It does that. Should it do that? Probably not. Garrett's hand found the small of her back, that protective gesture that was becoming familiar. We're eating the pastries. Agreed. Lunch was chaos. Beautiful, loud, overwhelming chaos. Uncle Dennis told inappropriate jokes. Aunt Moira pressed second helpings on everyone. Cousin Peyton asked Garrett approximately 70 questions about being rich. Is your shower made of gold? Do you have a butler? Have you ever bought a yacht on a whim? Through it all, Garrett was perfect. He laughed at Uncle Dennis's jokes, even the inappropriate ones. He complimented Aunt Moira's cooking while carefully avoiding the Jell-O. He answered Peyton's questions with patience and humor. He fit in with her chaotic family better than Sloane had expected, better than she fit in sometimes. Speech, speech, Uncle Dennis started chanting, and soon the entire party had joined in. Garrett stood, and the backyard fell silent. He looked calm, collected, completely in his element. This was a man who gave presentations to boardrooms full of sharks. One family party was nothing. Thank you all for this incredible celebration, Garrett began. I know Sloane and I surprised everyone with our quick wedding. We surprised ourselves, honestly. Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. But from the moment I met your daughter, Garrett looked at Patricia, your sister. He nodded to Felicity. Your granddaughter, he smiled at Grandma Iris. I knew she was special. She's kind, funny, and keeps me from taking myself too seriously. Sloane felt her cheeks burning. She spilled champagne on me, lied to all of you, and somehow convinced me that marrying her was a good idea. More laughter. And you know what? It was. Because Sloane makes every day an adventure. She challenges me. She makes me laugh. She makes me want to be better than the uptight, overscheduled person I was before I met her. The backyard was completely silent now. Sloane could hear her heart hammering. So, thank you, Garrett continued, for welcoming me into your family, and for raising someone so extraordinary that she was worth breaking all my rules for. He raised his glass. To family, to chaos, and to Sloane. To Sloane. The entire party echoed. Sloane stood on shaky legs and walked over to Garrett. She was supposed to kiss him, that's what you did after a speech like that. But when she reached him and saw the look in his eyes, she forgot this was supposed to be fake. She kissed him. Not a quick peck, not a performative kiss for the audience, a real kiss. His lips were soft and warm, and he tasted like the champagne they'd been drinking. His hand came up to cup her face, and for a moment the entire backyard disappeared. There was only Garrett, only this, only the feeling of coming home. When they pulled apart, the backyard erupted in cheers and applause, but Sloane barely heard it. She was too busy staring at Garrett, who was looking at her like he'd just figured out the answer to a very complicated equation. Good speech, she managed. Good kiss, he replied, voice rough. They were saved from further conversation by Grandma Iris, demanding photos. The next hour was a blur of pictures with the family, with the Jell-O mold which Aunt Moira insisted on including, cutting the cake, which was actually the French pastries Garrett had brought, artfully arranged. As the sun started to set, Sloane escaped to her mother's garden for a moment of peace. She found Garrett already there, sitting on the bench under the oak tree where she used to read as a kid. Hey, she said softly. He patted the space beside him. Your family is exhausting. Told you. I like them, though. They're real. Loud and chaotic, but real. Sloane sat down, leaving a careful few inches between them. That speech you gave, I meant it. She looked at him sharply. What? I meant it, Garrett repeated. The part about you being special, about you making me laugh, about you making me want to be better. He turned to face her fully. This was supposed to be fake, a business arrangement to avoid a scandal. It still is, Sloane said. But her voice wavered. Is it? Garrett reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Because somewhere between the champagne incident and your grandmother asking about babies, I stopped pretending. Sloane's breath caught. Garrett, you make me forget about the rules, he continued. You make me sing in the shower even though I banned it. You make me watch reality TV and eat on the couch and laugh at terrible jokes. You make me feel like maybe I don't have to have everything planned and controlled. That's called chaos. Sloane whispered. That's everything you hate. That's everything I thought I hated. He moved closer. Turns out I just needed the right person to make chaos feel like home. We have a contract. 6 months. Then we walk away. We could renegotiate. Sloane's heart was racing. What are you saying? I'm saying that kiss wasn't fake. At least not for me. His thumb traced her jawline. Was it fake for you? Sloane should say yes, should stick to the plan, should protect herself from the inevitable heartbreak when this all fell apart. But she'd never been good at doing what she should. No, she admitted. It wasn't fake. Garrett smiled, that real smile that transformed his entire face. This is a terrible idea, Sloane said even as she leaned closer. Probably we're going to mess everything up. Most likely. You have 73 rules. Screw the rules. And then he was kissing her again. And this time there was no audience. No performance. No contract. Just them. Just this. Just the feeling of everything falling into place. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Garrett rested his forehead against hers. We should probably go back, he murmured, before your family sends a search party. Probably. Sloane didn't move. Garrett? I'm scared. Me too. What if this doesn't work? What if we mess up the arrangement and hurt each other? Garrett pulled back to look at her. Then we deal with it together. No more fake marriage. No more contract. Just us figuring it out. What about the 6 months? What about them? He stood and offered his hand. We have 6 months guaranteed together. Let's make them real. Sloane looked at his outstretched hand. This was it, the moment she decided if she was brave enough to turn a fake marriage into something real. She took his hand. Garrett pulled her up and into his arms, spinning her around like they were in a movie. Sloane laughed, the sound echoing through the garden. When he set her down, they were both grinning like idiots. My family is going to be insufferable about this, Sloane said. Your grandmother is going to increase the baby pressure. Oh, definitely. She'll probably start showing up with pregnancy tests. Garrett laughed. We'll deal with it together. Together, Sloane echoed. They walked back to the party hand in hand. And this time when they touched, it wasn't for show. It was real. As they rounded the corner of the house, they nearly collided with Felicity, who was clearly eavesdropping. Finally, Felicity shouted, I thought you two would never figure it out. You were listening? Sloane gasped. Of course I was listening. I'm your sister. Felicity grabbed them both in a hug. I'm so happy for you, even if this whole thing started as a ridiculous lie. Felicity, don't worry. Your secret's safe with me. But seriously, Sloane, only you could accidentally marry a billionaire and then actually fall in love with him. I didn't say I was in love. Felicity gave her a look. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm a little in love. Garrett squeezed her hand. Just a little. Don't push your luck, Ashford. They rejoined the party, and if anyone noticed, they were holding hands differently now, less carefully, more naturally. No one said anything except Grandma Iris, who cornered them by the dessert table. I see the way you two are looking at each other now, she said with a knowing smile. That's the real thing. I can always tell. Grandma, you've got about 8 months before you should start trying for babies. Get your bodies ready. Eat your vegetables. Take your vitamins. She patted Garrett's arm. Good genes. Strong genes. I'm thinking at least 3 grandchildren. 3? Sloane and Garrett said simultaneously. Maybe 4. Grandma Iris winked and walked away, leaving them both slightly terrified. Your grandmother is intense, Garrett said. Welcome to the family. I'm already in the family. Have been for a week. Yeah, but now it's real. Sloane looked up at him. Still sure about this? Garrett kissed her forehead. Never been more sure of anything. As the party continued around them, Sloane realized something. She'd started this whole mess trying to avoid her family's judgment about being single. And somehow, accidentally, she'd found something real with a man who scheduled his breakfast and had 73 rules, a man who was currently helping Aunt Moira carry the Jell-O mold inside. Brave soul. A man who'd somehow become her husband, her friend, and now something more. Life was weird, but as Garrett caught her eye across the yard and smiled, that real smile reserved just for her, Sloane decided weird was pretty wonderful. Sloane woke up Monday morning to the smell of coffee and the sound of Garrett cursing in the kitchen. She shuffled out of her bedroom, their bedrooms were still separate because some boundaries took time to renegotiate, and found him standing over the coffee maker with the intensity of someone diffusing a bomb. "I thought you were a tea person," Garrett said without turning around. "I am, but you drink coffee, so I thought." He gestured helplessly at the machine, which was making concerning gurgling sounds. "I don't know how to work this thing." Sloane's heart did a little flip. He was trying to make her coffee. Never mind that she didn't drink coffee, he was trying. "Step aside, Ashford. Let me show you how it's done." 5 minutes later, they were sitting at the breakfast bar with proper beverages, tea for Sloane, coffee for Garrett that she'd made correctly. "I have meetings all day," Garrett said, checking his phone. "But I'll be home by 7. We could order dinner, try that Thai place you mentioned. Look at you being spontaneous. Not scheduling dinner 3 days in advance. I'm learning." He smiled over his coffee cup. "You're a terrible influence. The worst." Garrett reached across and took her hand. Even after the weekend, the gesture still felt new, exciting, a little scary. "I have to tell you something," he said, and his tone made Sloane's stomach drop. "That sounds ominous." "It's not bad, just complicated." Garrett set down his coffee. "I need to tell my mother about us being real now." Sloane groaned. "Do we have to? She's already suspicious. If she finds out from someone else, she'll make our lives miserable." "More miserable," Garrett corrected. "I'm having lunch with her today. I'll tell her then. Good luck. I'll start planning your funeral." "That's encouraging. I'm a realist." Sloane squeezed his hand. "But seriously, be careful. Your mom is scary." "I know." Garrett stood and kissed her forehead, a gesture that was becoming routine and still made her melt. "I'll text you after. Bring body armor." After Garrett left for work, Sloane got ready and headed to her own job. Henderson and Associates was a small marketing firm in Midtown, and she'd been an administrative assistant there for 3 years. Walking into the office felt surreal. A week ago, she was regular Sloane Winters, whose biggest problem was a broken heel and an annoying ex. Now she was Sloane Ashford, accidental wife to a billionaire, trending on social media, and living in a penthouse. There she is. Her coworker Brianna practically tackled her at the elevator. "The mystery bride. Girl, you have been holding out on us. It happened fast." "Fast?" "You went from single to married to Garrett Ashford in 3 months. That's not fast, that's warp speed." Sloane's boss, Margaret, appeared from her office. "Sloane, my office." That didn't sound good. Margaret closed the door and gestured to a chair. Sloane sat, her heart pounding. Was she being fired? Did they think she was some kind of gold digger? "I'll be direct," Margaret said. "Several of our clients have expressed interest in meeting you, specifically in meeting Garrett Ashford's wife. One client wants to discuss having Mr. Ashford invest in their startup. Another wants an introduction for their daughter's charity gala." Margaret folded her hands. "Sloane, I hired you because you're good at your job. But now you're married to one of the most powerful men in New York. That changes things." Sloane felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Are you asking me to use my husband for business connections?" "I'm asking you to be realistic about the opportunities your marriage presents." Margaret blinked. "Excuse me? I'm not using Garrett's name or connections for work. That's not why I married him. Even if the marriage started fake, that part was true. Now, if that's a problem, I can find another job." Margaret studied her for a long moment. "You really love him, don't you?" The word came out without hesitation. "All right." Margaret's expression softened slightly. "I respect that. But Sloane, you need to understand your life has changed. Whether you use his connections or not, people will treat you differently now." Sloane left Margaret's office feeling unsettled. She'd been so focused on the fake marriage becoming real, she hadn't thought about all the other ways her life would change. Her phone buzzed. A text from Garrett. Lunch with mother in 10 minutes. If I don't text back in an hour, send help. Sloane smiled and replied, I'll have the paramedics on standby. Good luck. She stared at the heart emoji. They'd been together, really together, for less than 3 days, and she was already using heart emojis. Another text came through, this time from a number she didn't recognize. We need to talk. Meet me at Cafe Margot at noon. Vivian Ashford. Sloane's blood ran cold. How did Vivian have her number, and why did she want to meet without Garrett? This couldn't be good. Cafe Margot was the kind of place where a salad cost $40, and everyone looked like they'd just stepped out of Vogue. Sloane arrived at noon to find Vivian already seated at a corner table, looking immaculate in a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than Sloane's monthly salary used to be. Sloane. Vivian didn't stand. Sloane sat, feeling like she was walking into a trap. I'll be direct, Vivian said, echoing Margaret's words from earlier. I know your marriage to my son isn't real. Sloane's heart stopped. What? Please. I've been navigating high society for 40 years. I know a marriage of convenience when I see one. Vivian sipped her wine. The question is, what are you getting out of it? Money? Status? Access to his wealth? I'm not. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Vivian leaned forward. My son has never been impulsive. He plans everything. And suddenly he marries a girl he's known for 3 months after she spills champagne on him in front of her entire family? She laughed, cold and sharp. I wasn't born yesterday, dear. Sloane felt her hands shaking. She gripped them together under the table. You're right. It started as fake. Vivian's eyebrows rose. Started. It's not fake anymore. Sloane met Vivian's eyes. I know you don't believe me, but I care about your son. Really care about him. And he cares about me. Love. Vivian said the word like it was distasteful. How convenient. It's not convenient. It's terrifying. Sloane surprised herself with her honesty. I never planned to actually fall for him, but he makes me laugh. He watches terrible TV with me. He tried to make me coffee this morning even though he has no idea how coffee makers work. He defended me against you even though you're his mother. And he fits in with my chaotic family like he was always meant to be there. Vivian was silent for a long moment. You really believe that? I know that. My son is complicated. Sloane. He has issues with control, with trust. He's been hurt before. What do you mean? Vivian seemed to debate something internally. Finally, she said, 5 years ago, Garrett was engaged to a woman named Claire Huntington. Society darling. Perfect pedigree. They were planning a wedding at the plaza. Sloane felt her stomach drop. Garrett had been engaged. He'd never mentioned that. What happened? She asked quietly. She was using him for his money, his connections, his name. Garrett didn't see it until he found her in his office going through confidential files, planning to leak information to a competitor. She'd been playing him for months. That's awful. It destroyed him. Vivian looked directly at Sloane. He hasn't dated anyone seriously since. He built those ridiculous rules of his to keep people at a distance. He schedules everything to maintain control. He doesn't trust easily anymore. Sloane's mind was racing. The 73 rules, the need for structure, the way Garrett had been so cold and controlled when they first met, it all made sense now. And then you came along, Vivian continued. Chaotic, unpredictable, breaking every single one of his rules. Can you understand why I'm concerned? You think I'm like Claire? I think you're dangerous. Maybe more dangerous than Claire ever was because Claire couldn't make my son smile. She couldn't make him break his own rules. She couldn't make him sing in the shower. Vivian's lips twitched slightly. Yes, I heard about that. Sloane didn't know what to say. So here's what's going to happen, Vivian said. I'm going to watch you closely. And if I find out you're using my son, if you hurt him in any way, I will destroy you. Am I clear? Crystal. Vivian stood. Lunch is on me. And Sloane? For what it's worth, I hope I'm wrong about you. My son deserves to be happy. He hasn't been. Not in a very long time. She paused. Maybe you can change that. Then she swept out of the cafe, leaving Sloane sitting alone with her thoughts and a $40 salad she hadn't touched. Sloane spent the rest of the afternoon distracted. When she finally got home to the penthouse at 6, she found Garrett already there, tie loosened, looking exhausted. "Hey," she said softly. "How was lunch with your mom?" "Terrible." He looked up and frowned. "How was your day?" "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I just..." Sloane stopped. "Your mom called me. We had lunch." Garrett's expression darkened. "She what?" "She wanted to meet. She told me about Claire." All the color drained from Garrett's face. He stood abruptly and walked to the window, his back to her. "Garrett, I was going to tell you," he said, voice tight. I didn't know how." Sloane walked over and stood beside him. "Why didn't you mention you'd been engaged?" "Because it was the worst mistake of my life." Garrett's jaw was clenched. "I thought I knew her, thought I loved her. Turns out I was just a means to an end. I'm not Claire. I know that." He finally looked at her. "If I thought you were anything like her, I never would have agreed to this marriage, fake or otherwise." "Then why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm an idiot who thought he could keep his past and his present separate." Garrett ran his hand through his hair. "Because those rules I wrote, they weren't just about maintaining control. They were about protecting myself from ever being that vulnerable again. And then I came along and broke all of them." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "You did." Sloane took his hand. "I'm not going to hurt you. You don't know that. Nobody knows that." "You're right. I don't know that." Sloane squeezed his hand. "But I know I don't want to. I know that when I see you trying to figure out the coffee maker, my heart does weird things. I know that watching you with my family made me realize how much I want you in my life. I know that this stopped being fake for me the moment you defended me against your mother." Garrett's thumb traced circles on her palm. "When did it stop being fake for you? Really?" Sloane thought about it. "The reality TV, when you sat on the couch and got genuinely invested in whether Brad and Ashley were going to make it." He laughed, a real laugh that broke the tension. "They were terrible together. They were. But you cared. You, Garrett Ashford, master of control and schedules, cared about reality TV drama. You make me care about stupid things." He pulled her closer. "You make me care about everything. Is that a bad thing?" "It's terrifying." He cupped her face. "But I'm starting to think terrifying is good. At least with you." Sloane stood on her tiptoes and kissed him, soft, gentle. "A promise." When they pulled apart, Garrett rested his forehead against hers. "I need to show you something," he said quietly. He led her to his home office, a room she'd never been in before. Inside, on the wall behind his desk, was a framed document. Sloane stepped closer and read it. Garrett Ashford's Rules for Life. But below the title, someone Garrett had written in red marker, "Revised Edition." And below that, one single new rule. Rule number 1. Let Sloane break all the other rules. Sloane felt tears prick her eyes. "When did you do this?" "Last night. After Connecticut. After you fell asleep." Garrett wrapped his arms around her from behind. "I realized something. I spent 5 years building walls to protect myself, and then you knocked them all down in a week. I'm sorry." "Don't be." He turned her to face him. "I needed them knocked down. I was just too scared to do it myself. And now? Now I'm still scared, but I'm more scared of losing you than I am of getting hurt." Sloane kissed him again, deeper this time, and it felt like sealing a promise. They'd started this as a lie, a fake marriage to avoid embarrassment. But somehow, accidentally, they'd stumbled into something real. Garrett's phone buzzed. He groaned and checked it. "Work crisis. I need to handle this. I'll order Thai food." "You remembered." "I remember everything you tell me, Garrett. That's kind of how caring about someone works." He kissed her forehead. "I'll be quick." While Garrett dealt with his work crisis, Sloane ordered dinner and changed into comfortable clothes. When she emerged from her bedroom, she found Garrett on the phone, pacing in his office. "I don't care what the board says. We're not selling," he was saying, his voice sharp. "That building has historic significance. No, I won't reconsider because some things matter more than profit." He hung up and immediately threw his phone on the couch. "Everything okay?" Sloane asked. "The board wants to sell one of our older buildings, tear it down and build luxury condos." Garrett slumped on the couch. "But it's a landmark. It has character. It matters." Sloane sat beside him. "Then don't sell." It's not that simple. The board has power. You're Garrett Ashford. You have more power. Sloane poked his shoulder. Fight for what matters. When did you become so wise? I married a billionaire by accident. I'm basically a life coach now. Garrett laughed and pulled her close. What would I do without you? Eat breakfast at exactly 6:30 a.m. and never sing in the shower. Sounds terrible. It does. They ate Thai food on the couch while watching more reality TV. Garrett got invested in the drama again. Sloane took a picture of him yelling at the screen and sent it to Felicity with the caption, "I've created a monster." Later, as they cleaned up, Garrett said, "Move in with me." Sloane paused. "I already live here." "No, I mean really move in. Not guest bedroom. Not separate spaces." He set down the dishes. "Share my room. Share my life. All of it. Garrett, we've been really together for 3 days. We've been married for 2 weeks. We've been living together for a week, and I haven't wanted to be apart from you for a single moment." He took her hands. "I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But when have we ever done anything the conventional way?" Sloane thought about it, about waking up in separate rooms, about the careful distance they'd maintained even while falling for each other, about how she wanted to fall asleep next to him and wake up to his terrible coffee-making attempts. "Okay," she said. "Okay. Let's be crazy. Let's do this properly." She grinned. "But I'm warning you, I steal blankets. I'll buy more blankets. And I talk in my sleep. I'll listen. And sometimes I wake up at 2 a.m. and want snacks. I'll stock the kitchen." Sloane laughed and kissed him. "You're ridiculous. I'm in love with you." The words hung in the air between them. "What?" Sloane whispered. "I'm in love with you," Garrett repeated, no hesitation. "I know it's been 2 weeks. I know it started fake. I know it's insane. But Sloane, I am completely, terrifyingly in love with you." Sloane felt tears stream down her face. Happy tears. Overwhelmed tears. Tears that said everything she couldn't put into words. "I love you too," she said. "Even though you schedule everything and have terrible taste in breakfast times and tried to ban shower singing, especially because of those things. Maybe in spite of them." She kissed him. "Definitely, because you're you." They moved her stuff into his room that night. It didn't take long, she didn't have much. But as Sloane hung her 3 Target dresses next to Garrett's designer suits, she realized something. She'd accidentally stumbled into the life she was always meant to have with the man she was always meant to find, even if she found him by spilling champagne on him and lying to her entire family. Some accidents, she decided, were the best things that ever happened. 6 months later, Sloane woke up to Garrett kissing her neck and the smell of, "Wait, was that bacon? Did you cook breakfast?" she mumbled, still half asleep. "I ordered breakfast," Garrett corrected, pulling back to look at her. "I'm not a miracle worker. Smart man. I'm learning." He brushed hair from her face. "Happy 6-month anniversary." Sloane's eyes flew open. 6 months, the contract deadline. The day they were supposed to sign divorce papers and go their separate ways. Garrett must have seen her expression change because he sat up, his smile fading. "Hey, talk to me." "The contract," Sloane said quietly. "It's been 6 months. I know. We're supposed to." She couldn't finish the sentence. "Sloane." Garrett took her hand. "Look at me." She did. His ice blue eyes were warm now, soft in the morning light, streaming through their bedroom window. Their bedroom, not his, not the guest room, theirs. "Do you want a divorce?" he asked simply. "Do you?" He laughed, the tension breaking. "I've been terrified all week that you'd bring up the contract and tell me you wanted out." "Are you kidding?" "I've been terrified you'd want out." They stared at each other for a moment, then both started laughing. "We're idiots," Sloane said. "Complete idiots." Garrett pulled her into his arms. "We fell in love and forgot about the contract. In our defense, we'd been busy." It was true. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind. Sloane had quit her job at Henderson and Associates after Margaret kept pressuring her to use Garrett's connections. Instead, she'd started her own small event planning business, something she'd always wanted to do but never had the courage to try. Garrett had fought his board and won, saving the historic building. He'd also started delegating more, working from home twice a week, just to spend time with Sloane. They'd hosted Thanksgiving at the penthouse, Christmas with Sloane's family in Connecticut, where Grandma Iris had given them a gift basket full of prenatal vitamins for when you're ready. New Year's in the Hamptons with Vivian, who had slowly, very slowly, started to warm up to Sloane. And somewhere in all of that, they'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love. So, Garrett said, trailing kisses down her jaw, if we're not getting divorced, we should probably do something about that contract. Agreed. I'll have James draw up new papers. A real marriage. No expiration date. No 73 rules. Well, Garrett grinned, maybe a few rules like mandatory tea in bed on Saturdays. I drink tea. Tea in bed on Saturdays. Better. Sloane kissed him. And mandatory reality TV on Sundays. Anything else? Mandatory shower singing. Absolutely not. It's in the contract or I'm out. Garrett laughed and rolled her beneath him. Fine, but only because I love you. I love you too. They were interrupted by Garrett's phone ringing. He groaned and reached for it. It's my mother, he said, surprised. At 8 in the morning, he answered. Mother? Is everything what? When is she? Relief flooded his face. That's wonderful. Yes. We'll come right over. He hung up and turned to Sloane with the biggest smile she'd ever seen on him. What happened? My Aunt Patricia had her baby, a girl. Everyone's healthy. That's amazing. My mother wants us at the hospital. She said. Garrett paused, looking almost emotional. She said she wants Sloane to meet the newest Ashford. Sloane felt tears prick her eyes. 6 months ago, Vivian had threatened to destroy her. Now she was inviting her to meet family. We should get dressed, Sloane said. Shower first. Only if you sing. Garrett groaned but pulled her toward the bathroom. And yes, he sang terribly, loudly, while Sloane laughed so hard she nearly slipped. It was perfect. At the hospital, they found Vivian in the waiting room, looking unusually soft. When she saw them, she actually smiled. Garrett, Sloane. She hugged Garrett, then shockingly hugged Sloane too. Patricia and the baby are doing wonderfully. They're letting family in soon. How are you holding it together? Garrett asked. You're a great aunt now. I'm not that old, Vivian said primly, but her eyes were sparkling. Sloane's phone buzzed. A text from Felicity. Emergency. Family group chat. Check now. Sloane opened the family group chat and her jaw dropped. Her sister had posted a photo of a positive pregnancy test with the caption, Surprise! Baby Winter's coming November. The chat was exploding with congratulations, crying emojis, and Grandma Iris typing in all caps, I knew it. The Winters, women are fertile. Sloane, you're next. Sloane showed Garrett, who laughed. Your grandmother is relentless. She's already planning our baby shower. We don't have a baby. Yet, apparently, Sloane grinned. She's very confident. Should we tell her we're keeping the marriage? Garrett asked quietly. She already knows. She told me at Christmas that she could see the real love in our eyes and that the divorce would never happen. Your grandmother is terrifying. She really is. They were called in to meet baby Ashford, 7 pounds, 3 ounces of tiny perfection named Clara. Sloane held her while Garrett stood beside her, looking at the baby with an expression she'd never seen before. What? She asked softly. Nothing. Just thinking. About how good you look holding a baby? He kissed her temple. About how maybe Grandma Iris isn't completely wrong. Sloane's heart skipped. Garrett Ashford, are you saying you want kids? Not today. Maybe not this year. But someday. He looked at her, vulnerable. With you. If you want that. I want that, Sloane whispered. Someday. Someday, he agreed. Vivian appeared beside them. She's beautiful, isn't she? She really is, Sloane said. Vivian studied them for a moment. I owe you an apology, Sloane. What? No, you don't. Vivian's voice was firm. 6 months ago, I told you I'd be watching you, waiting for you to hurt my son. I was wrong. Sloane carefully handed baby Clara to a nurse and turned to face Vivian. You were protecting him. I understand that. Maybe. But I've watched you these past months, the way you make him laugh. The way he's become more human, less robotic. The way he actually leaves work early to spend time with you. Vivian's lips curved into a real smile. You've been good for him better than I ever imagined. He's been good for me too. I can see that. Vivian reached out and squeezed Sloane's hand. "Welcome to the family. Really, this time." Sloane felt tears threatening. "Thank you." "Now," Vivian said briskly, "back to business mode. When are you two going to give me a grandchild? I'm not getting any younger." "Mother," Garrett groaned. "I'm just saying. Patricia has done her part. Your cousin James just announced his wife is pregnant. You're falling behind, Garrett. We've been married 6 months. And your father and I had you within the first year." Sloane couldn't help but laugh. "You and my grandma Iris should start a club." "Excellent idea. We'll have lunch next week and discuss timeline expectations." "Please don't," Garrett said, but he was smiling. That evening, back at the penthouse, Sloane found Garrett in his office staring at a folder on his desk. "What's that?" she asked. "The divorce papers. James sent them over weeks ago. I just never opened them." Sloane walked over and picked up the folder. Without ceremony, she ripped it in half. Problem solved. Garrett stood and wrapped his arms around her. "That easy?" "That easy." She kissed him. "I'm not going anywhere, Garrett. You're stuck with me. Best accident I ever had. Hey, I'm the one who started this whole mess. And I'm the one who went along with it." He spun her around. "We're both idiots. The best idiots." "The best idiots," he agreed. Sloane's phone rang her mother. "Sloane, I just heard from Vivian Ashford. Lunch next week. She wants to discuss grandchildren." Patricia sounded thrilled and horrified in equal measure. "Are you pregnant? Is that why you're not divorcing?" "We were never divorcing, Mom. It stopped being fake months ago. We just forgot to tell everyone." "You weren't?" "Robert," her mother shouted. "Sloane and Garrett were really in love this whole time." Sloane heard her father in the background. "I told you they were real. You owe me $50. You bet on our marriage?" "Everyone did, honey." Grandma Iris cleaned up. She bet it would last forever. Sloane couldn't decide if she was mortified or impressed. After hanging up with her mother and promising to come to Connecticut for Felicity's baby shower, Sloane found Garrett had ordered dinner Thai food, her favorite, and set up their reality TV show. "You know what?" she said, curling up next to him on the couch. 6 months ago, if someone told me I'd be married to a billionaire who watches reality TV and tries to make me coffee, I would have laughed. If someone told me I'd be married to a woman who breaks all my rules and makes me forget to schedule things, I would have had them evaluated. And yet, here we are." "Here we are," Garrett echoed, pulling her closer. They watched TV in comfortable silence for a while. Then Garrett said, "I have something for you." He pulled out a small box, and Sloane's heart stopped. "Garrett, it's not what you think." "Well, it is, but also it isn't." He opened the box to reveal a simple, beautiful diamond ring. "When we got married at City Hall, it was fake. We didn't have rings. We didn't have a real ceremony. We didn't have anything except a lie and a contract." "Garrett, let me finish." He took the ring out. "Sloane Winters. Sorry, Sloane Ashford. I know we're already married, but I want to do this right. I want to ask you properly." He got down on one knee, and Sloane felt tears streaming down her face. "Will you marry me for real this time? No contract, no expiration date, just us forever?" "Yes," Sloane sobbed. "Yes." "You ridiculous, wonderful man." He slipped the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly because of course it did. Garrett scheduled everything. "How long have you been planning this?" she asked through tears. 3 months. I wanted to wait until the 6-month mark passed to prove to both of us that this was real. It's real, Sloane confirmed. It's been real since Connecticut. Maybe even before that. Definitely before that. Garrett stood and pulled her into his arms. "I think it became real the moment you spilled champagne on me and turned my life upside down. Best spill ever. Best lie ever. Best accident ever." "The best," Garrett agreed and kissed her. 3 months later, Sloane stood in her childhood bedroom in Connecticut, surrounded by her mother, sister, Aunt Moira, and surprisingly Vivian Ashford. "Stop fidgeting," Felicity said, adjusting Sloane's veil. "You look perfect. I'm nervous. What if I trip? What if I say the wrong thing? What if you just enjoy marrying the love of your life?" Vivian interrupted, and Sloane turned to see her almost mother-in-law smiling. "Again. This time it counts, though." "Last time counted too," Vivian said softly. "You just didn't know it yet." Patricia dabbed at her eyes. My baby girl getting married again. Properly this time. Mom, don't cry. You'll make me cry. Too late. Felicity was already tearing up. Pregnancy hormones. There was a knock on the door, and Grandma Iris poked her head in. It's time. And Sloane, you look beautiful. That baby you're going to make with that handsome husband is going to be gorgeous. Grandma, we're not. Tick-tock. She disappeared down the hallway. Vivian laughed. I like her. She says what everyone's thinking. Please don't encourage her, Sloane begged. Too late. We're having lunch next week to discuss nursery colors. Sloane looked at Felicity helplessly. Her sister just grinned. Welcome to the family business, making babies and driving Sloane crazy. The ceremony was in her parents' backyard, the same place they'd had the engagement party 6 months ago. But this time, everything was different. This time, when Sloane walked down the makeshift aisle between rows of white chairs and under an arch covered in flowers, Garrett wasn't waiting out of obligation. He was waiting because he wanted to be there. And when she reached him, she saw tears in his eyes. You're crying, she whispered. Shut up, he whispered back, smiling. You look incredible. The ceremony was officiated by Judge Morrison, the same woman who'd married them at City Hall 9 months ago. We meet again, she said with a knowing smile. Though I suspect this time might be more intentional. Much more intentional, Garrett confirmed, his eyes never leaving Sloane. Judge Morrison smiled. Then let's do this right. Garrett, your vows. Garrett took Sloane's hands, and she could feel them shaking slightly. Sloane, he began. 9 months ago you spilled champagne on me and declared me your husband in front of 200 people. It was the most chaotic, unexpected, ridiculous moment of my life. Laughter rippled through the crowd. I'm a man who plans everything, who schedules everything, who tries to control everything. And you came into my life and broke every single rule I'd ever made. You made me watch reality TV. You made me eat Thai food on the couch. You made me sing in the shower. More laughter, especially from Felicity. And you made me realize that the life I'd been living was only half a life. You taught me that chaos isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. Because the best things in life, the real things, are messy and unplanned, and sometimes start with a champagne accident and a desperate lie. Sloane was full-on crying now. So today, I promise you, I will embrace the chaos. I will break my own rules. I will love you through every unexpected moment. And I will never, ever regret the day you crashed into my life and turned everything upside down. He smiled. Because you're the best accident that ever happened to me. There wasn't a dry eye in the audience. Sloane, Judge Morrison prompted gently. Your vows? Sloane took a shaky breath. Garrett, I had a speech prepared 3 pages, color-coded, organized by theme. Garrett laughed through his tears. But that's not us. We're not organized or planned or controlled. We're chaotic and messy, and we fell in love by complete accident. She squeezed his hands. So, here's what I want to say. Thank you for going along with my ridiculous lie. Thank you for defending me against your terrifying mother. Hey, Vivian called out, but she was smiling. Thank you for trying to make me coffee even though you're terrible at it. Thank you for watching terrible reality TV with me, and for breaking your own rules, and for singing in the shower even though you banned it. Sloane's voice cracked. Thank you for loving me even when I didn't think I deserved to be loved. Thank you for being my best accident. She paused, then grinned. And thank you for having good genes, because our grandmothers are relentless, and we're definitely going to need them eventually. The audience erupted in laughter and applause. I now pronounce you husband and wife, Judge Morrison said, smiling again. For real, this time. You may kiss your bride. Garrett pulled Sloane into his arms and kissed her like it was the first time, and the last time, and every time in between. When they finally broke apart, the entire backyard was cheering. Ready for forever? Garrett whispered. With you always. Epilogue. 1 year later, Sloane woke up to the smell of burning toast and the sound of the smoke alarm. She stumbled out of bed, waddled, because she was 7 months pregnant and everything was waddling now, and found Garrett standing in the kitchen staring at the smoking toaster with betrayal. I followed the instructions exactly, he said helplessly. I know, honey. Sloane opened windows to air out the smoke. Technology just hates you. Apparently, he looked at her belly, and his expression softened. How are my girls this morning? They were having a girl. Vivian and Grandma Iris had cried for an hour when they found out. Your daughter has been practicing kickboxing since 5 a.m. Garrett knelt down and kissed her belly. Hey, troublemaker, give your mom a break. The baby kicked hard, and they both laughed. She's definitely your daughter, Sloane said, already breaking rules. She gets that from her mother. I'm a terrible influence. The best influence. Garrett stood and wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands resting on her belly. I can't believe we're going to be parents in 2 months. Terrified yet? Absolutely. Completely. Sloane turned in his arms. But we'll figure it out together. We always do, Garrett agreed. Together. Later that day, they had lunch with both families. Vivian and Grandma Iris had indeed started a club, which consisted of them having lunch once a week to discuss baby things and terrify Sloane and Garrett with stories about childbirth. Felicity was there with her 3-month-old son, James. Sloane's parents were there. Uncle Dennis, Aunt Moira, and her infamous Jell-O mold, which was finally retired after 30 years of terrorizing family events. As Sloane looked around the table at her chaotic, loving, ridiculous family now mixed with Garrett's previously cold and distant family, who had somehow become warm and welcoming, she felt overwhelmingly grateful. Grateful for broken heels and clumsy waiters. Grateful for panic-induced lies and fake marriage contracts. Grateful for a man who had 73 rules and broke every single one for her. What are you thinking about? Garrett asked softly. About how I spilled champagne on you and accidentally married you and accidentally fell in love with you and accidentally got pregnant. That last one wasn't an accident. We specifically discussed it and planned. Garrett, shut up and kiss me. He did. And somewhere in the background, Grandma Iris announced loudly, 1 down, 3 more to go. 3 more? Garrett pulled back, eyes wide. She wants 4 grandchildren, Sloane explained. I thought you knew. Nobody told me that. It's probably in a contract somewhere. Page 68. Garrett laughed and pulled her close. Fine, but we're spacing them out properly. I'm making a schedule. Of course you are. Someone has to plan things in this family. And someone has to break all your plans. Wouldn't have it any other way. As they sat at the table surrounded by family and love and the chaos that came with both, Sloane realized something. Some accidents change your life. Some accidents are your life. And some accidents, like spilling champagne on a stranger and declaring him your husband, are the best things that ever happened to you. Even if you don't know it at the time. Especially if you don't know it at the time. Because the best love stories don't start with a plan. They start with a disaster, a lie, and a whole lot.